but he even sent back the second time when they changed the name to The Day After Roswell, and the original book was called A New World If You Can Take It. In other words, that's where he came from, and this is called The Dawn of a New Age. Now, Senator Thurman ended up saying that not only did he give my dad permission to put the forward in there, but so he fired his entire staff, administrative assistant, all the way down and through. Simon & Schuster decided to take it out just to not embarrass the good senator and keep that kind of quiet. Enough years have gone by now that I feel you can know about it. Dawn of the New Age. Now, this book, my dad was really very upset about it because it has a lot of Hollywood in it. And like I said, he did not proofread it. In his words, he says the first 2 chapters aren't worth a darn. You shouldn't even read them. They put them in there just, I guess they figured that that would sell the book because some people don't know what Roswell is or meant. Dawn of a New Age, that I had no intentions to put out this book. This one here is all in my dad's original handwriting. Part of it is in typing and part is in handwriting. And what it really is, it's the original notes. And the original notes, without Hollywood involved, is what the people really wanted. They don't want it edited. They didn't want it. It reads like a textbook. In other words, it's a manual. It doesn't have. It's not exciting, except for if you're interested in the subject or the field. Then it becomes very exciting, because there's so much left out of this book because of that. Dad went through the Day After Roswell and was yellow lining everything that he didn't say and didn't like, and he got halfway through and quit because it was impossible. He had almost every page blacked out. Dawn of a New Age, this began, and it was published in Italy. And the publication in Italy you might say, was not exactly. It shouldn't have been published in Italy. Let's just put it that way, not to embarrass anybody, because it's all been settled. And out of that came something very good. Paula Harris found a person in Mexico that wants to publish the book. He now has made a contract with Corso Holdings, which owns a stack of materials like this that my father left behind. By the way, I hid those in an attic of a friend of mine for 3 years, because we had so much trouble over this book. I don't want to go into too much detail over it, but all I'll tell you is there was lawsuits by people we didn't even know. And now one of my partners in Corso Holdings is the attorney that got us out of all that free of charge. So we're very beholden to him. In today's society, if you get off in the wrong direction or you start stepping on toes, the way that you're silenced is with lawsuits. And let me tell you, they do silence you, very much so. They not only silence you, but then the next method that's used is a personal attack on your finances. And if that doesn't work, then there's a lot of gifts given to you. Yeah, I've built airplanes that people don't even pick up. And we get people from the White House and so on and so on and so on. Very prominent people. I will tell you this. I don't want to talk about being threatened, but they have their way of letting you know what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And it's not just through lawsuits. It's through this I call it as a system of shutting you up. Be careful out there. Anyone that is publishing on the subject matter, today they may not attack you directly because I think they're busy with a war, but they will put you under observation. They have other ways too, with the remote viewing and such like that they can cause a lot of problems to you and your family. I have 3 sons that work with me in a business. They do not care anything about the subject matter. They'll deny it. They'll tell me to be quiet and not say anything else. it's not so much that they're afraid, but they have actually been witness to the vans that pull up in front of our hangar, a bus, and it's one side is completely loaded with electronic gear. I go out and knock on the door, and there's a black gentleman in there named Darrell, and I said, look, if you're going to take pictures of me, you might as well come on in the hangar, you know, and come home for lunch. You can use the bathroom facilities and such like that. And he did. He came home for dinner, and he gave us the pictures that he took, and he invited me in, and he says, we're just here for your protection. Okay, great. And so once in a while I say to myself, well, is all this real? Does it really mean anything? And then I start thinking about him, and I start thinking about at 40,000 feet with a CIA agent in my face, going out to Burt Rutan, walking into Burt Rutan. By the way, he's the father of composite aircrafts. He just went to space, the first civilian to go to space. He's a very prominent person, and I know him very well. And when I walk into his building with the CIA agent, he actually gets up and runs because he recognizes the guy. Calls me out. I go into, we run around the hangar a few times and hide from the guy, and he says, Phil, do you know who that guy is? I said, of course I know who he is. You know, he's here to protect me. Oh, yeah, sure. Anyway, enough on that subject, so be careful. I had a whole thing prepared, and I'm not going to do it that way because I have been told, without any knowledge of it, that I've only done 2 other conferences. One was the X conference in Washington, D.C., 2 years ago, I guess. 3 years, okay. And then there was the original Fort Walton Beach, which was a disaster. I had some CIA agents that infiltrated me as a friend, took the hangar next door, started building an airplane, going to put everything up on the website for me. I was going to put some of it up there free. Website closed down in 2 weeks, a whole bunch of material stolen and taken, photographs, everything, okay, out of there. That was, and they even admitted also who they were, but they took the material anyway. I think that what we need to do here is, I was told in these first 2 conferences that it was more like my father speaking than me speaking. I'm even starting to look like him. The cheeks are hanging a little bit, and the tummy and such like that. So what I'll do is, I think it's much more effective for you to ask questions. Now, I do not know anything. I am not a ufologist. I don't know anything about abductees. I don't know anything about if the world's going to come to an end, if the meteors are going to hit us and such. So if you ask me that kind of question, I'm just going to be truthful and say I don't know. What I would like you to do is stay with the book. And I know some of you don't know what the subject matter is in the book, but I think you'll pick up real quick. Basically, my father between 1960 and 63 with General Trudeau my father was in charge of foreign technology branch. Now, foreign technology means Europe and the rest of the world, but it also meant anything outside of the world. And General Trudeau trusted my father very much. If he said he would appropriate a research, it was done automatically. My father didn't even need to ask his permission. He spoke for the good general. He was recruited for the job, and basically they put out super tenacial fibers, which I work with every day, the carbon fibers and such that shoot Kevlars. They put out integrated circuit, which he had the very first one in his hand. Bell Laboratories went overnight from the transistor, which was an Earth invention, by the way, to all of a sudden having thousands of transistors on a little tiny chip so small that you really could hardly even see it. A chip that is about so big with all the little legs on it, as you probably know, black and plugs in. But the actual electronic part is a dot in the middle, and it's too small to handle, so they put it in his case about 20 times larger, where at least the machine can handle it and plug it in. American Computers, which was formerly Westinghouse, had just invented the miniature test tube. So the miniature test tube, all of a sudden Westinghouse found themselves out of the electronic business. American Computer nearly folded. Now, what does this mean? This means unfair economic advantage brought on by E.T.'s help. In other words, his technology. This is something that needs to be addressed if the civilian part wants to take care of UFO retrievals. Because if you would